Immigration into this country is the highest it's ever been, with a net increase of 191,000 entering the UK in 2006. And London is the most common destination for those immigrants. Some say London is now full up. Others argue it's the Londoners that keep the capital ticking, that have come in from outside. They create diversity. Figures out today show that the increase on the number of migrant workers to the UK is the biggest it's been since figures have been recorded. Is that true? Are we bursting at the seams, Nick?
Yeah, I think we are, Connie. You only have to try and get across the capital now to realise just how full it is and how many people there are and how much traffic there is and everything else. But there's a responsibility here. I couldn't give a flying fig whether you're from Portsmouth, Pinner or Pakistan. You've come here, you've put a life together, fantastic. We owe it to the people who are already here now to protect them, wherever they've come from, to make sure that our hospitals have room for them, to make sure that our schools have room for their children, to make sure that our businesses can sustain them. And if we just continue to allow everybody to come in, however they choose, our quality of life for everybody, for everyone here, will suffer. That's why we need to cap it.
Right, OK. We're an ageing population, though, aren't we? Surely we'll need more people. Nick wants to cap the number of immigrants coming in, but often they're doing jobs that British people just won't do. What do you think?
Well, let me start by paying tribute to Al Murray, the pub landlord, and say, Mr Ferrari, what a beautiful English name. Beautiful English name.
Absolutely.
I mean, quite honestly, if we stopped immigration, we'd have a virtually empty studio for a start. We'd be £6 billion less well off, because that's the amount of money generated in the capital last year by immigrants. Not only that, we'd be bog boring. We would be bleak and dreary and homogenous. We look as if we've been pumped out by the same ghastly factory production line. We owe an enormous amount to immigrants. That's really because we are all descended from immigrants. However indigenous you think you are, have a look in your family tree, you'll see you came from somewhere far afield. And good, because it adds enormously, not only to the hum of business. In London, Ken Livingstone will tell you we're the business capital of the world. We've never been more prosperous than we are today. But also to the diversity, to the fact that it's amusing walking down a London street, to the fact that as soon as you go outside London, you think, oh, my God, where have I ended up? It's like middle America out there.
What do you mean amusing? What does amusing mean?
Amusing means intriguing, mysterious, diverting. It means they're all people from all sorts of places trying to make their way here and fulfilling a dream here.
Who we must now cherish and we must look after. And we can't if our schools are full and they're speaking more languages than you would get at the United Nations.
But who is it that will be doing the jobs that the immigrants are doing if they're not doing them?
What are you saying? Brits are too lazy?
Well,
Indigenous
that's
Brits.
What Sainsbury's have said. They've said exactly that.
Calvin Mackenzie said it. That was the best thing I've read in a long time. He said, jobs for British jobs for British shirkers, question mark. Look, if he can say it, Nick, you can too.
Well, I don't. I mean, he's not always right, and I'm more than happy to tell you that. No, I think you do a disservice to British people. They will do those jobs, and they should do those jobs. Otherwise, you're exploiting people.
Yes,
you get plumbers or plasterers in from Poland.
Every Pole or Lithuanian who arrives and picks up a plastering tool is beating down 6 or 7 diligent English would-be toilers en route. But he's not doing anything of the sort. But he doesn't think so.
Because he's being paid less than
He thinks he's having a child and making in the land of opportunity.
Well, what are your thoughts on this, David? Is diversity what we want?
There's no question that diversity is what we want. I mean, Vanessa must be absolutely right. Alibi Brown, Feltz, Huck, Ferrari, Aronovich, bye-bye immigrants, bye-bye panel. Now turn the camera on the people who are here today.
Let's do a straw poll of our audience. Who is the product of immigrants going back, say, a generation or two? Put your hands up. Well, I know that you are, because you're from Poland, so that's it. Well, quite a few.
It's about half.
Yeah. But, so, you know, Nick, how can you argue your argument?
Oh, because I want to look after all these people. Honestly, that is the essential thing.
No, that's just dishonest. Come on.
No,
You've changed it very well. I mean, somebody's been training you for this, to say the right things. You don't cherish us, because if you did...
No,
Yasmin,
you don't.
You don't, Nick. For years and years, you've been singing this song, and I don't mean that personally, I mean people with your views. But nowadays, they're much nicer when they sing that song, so they say, we love you, but it's the others. And you just have to look back at our history. When the Jewish people came, that was the same story. 1 or 2 fine, the rest are contaminating this capital. Too many of them, they're taking our jobs. Go back to the Huguenots. Shakespeare was writing about it. It's our history.
Further down the line, will people be appreciative?
Well, it depends what happens. I don't hold with Enoch Powell's Rivers of Blood. I don't think that's right. It depends how we evolve and how we devolve. And there's one thing that's...
You can't do it. I mean,
I can't do what?
You can't do the thing that you want to do. You can't put this kind of imaginary cap. You're like Canute's courtiers, taking his chair to the waves and saying, come on, command the sea to go back.
But what's the
It's not going to go
alternative?
back. You want to stop immigrants coming here. The simple way to do it is have a really bad recession and force everybody to speak French.
But David,
those two things above anybody else would stop more people wanting to come in. There isn't a solution in the way that you're looking for.
But that
there
means
isn't
our
a solution.
schools-
No. You're talking about a different problem. You're talking about the question of whether or not you can put sufficient money at places where people can kind of come in to give resources when new immigrants are coming in.
Which
That's
we
a different-
palpably can't.
We palpably could, but
well,
we don't. But at
unless
the moment,
you want to increase tax.
but at the moment, no, possibly. But actually, you're going to be very impoverished if you attempt to have a bad policy to stop immigrants coming. You're going to be poor as a consequence of that. So what you've got to have to do is you've got to have more flexibility about getting money to places where people need the services. That's what new globalisation means.
We've never spent more on the health service than we do now.
You're living in the past.
No, we've never spent more than we are now.
Okay, Nick, we've heard what you've had to say. Let's go to the audience now. Hazir Tomorian, you're on the advisory committee of Migration Watch, and you're concerned with the numbers of immigrants coming into this country. But are they not actually helping our economy in the jobs that they do? Last year, 6 billion was generated by immigrants.
First of all, I think Migration Watch calculated, with the help of renowned economists, that the contribution of every migrant to this country was the equivalent of 1 Mars bar a day,
And it was the wrong
a week.
statistic. Actually, being proved
Let
wrong
me finish.
before it becomes
Let me
part
finish,
of the
please.
wisdom.
Let me finish. Secondly, I think the whole premise is based on possibly a very mistaken assumption that we accept this government's statistics. I think the statistics of this government, particularly under Mr. Brown, since he became Chancellor, are as bad as a Banana Republic's statistics. And I think that there ought to be a limit to diversity. With too much diversity, there is no social cohesion, no sense of belonging. When a nation starts blowing each other's members on the tube, this is no nation anymore. You call this nation a multicultural society. It's in fact a multinational society. Some members of the society hate the guts of the others. This is no society at all.
OK, well, with due respect, you're not a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant.
Definitely not.
So you yourself have migrated into this country.
Yeah.
So you're saying no more to anyone else, but you're all right.
No, I'm saying merely because, after all, I've got a British family. I love this country. I throw my hat in the air 10 times a day that as an Iranian-born person, I'm now part of a very advanced, free society. Europe has been the beacon of freedom for 2,500 years, since ancient Greece. I value this society.
I want
to
keep
keep
throwing
it.
your hat in the air 10 times a day is an ancient English custom. I'm not quite like Morris dancing.
All right, then.
But I'm also not sure that you can cap diversity. You've said there must be a limit to diversity. You can't limit diversity by definition. That's exactly what you can't do with it.
You mentioned statistics a bit earlier.
That cannot
I'm going to have to stop you there just to bring in Steve Moxon, because actually you know a lot about the statistics that the government bring out. You worked as an immigration officer for the Home Office. It was just last week they had to backtrack on some statistic. They didn't account for 300,000 people. Tell us what's going on.
Well, first of all, about work. This is a Migration Watch stat. Only 1 in 5 people come here primarily to work. Of course, the official stats do not take account at all of illegal migrants. Now, if you look at Professor Salt's hopelessly inaccurate estimate of 600,000, it's quite clearly out. A much more accurate estimation would be something like between 2 and 3 million illegal immigrants here in the country. We don't really know, even to the nearest million.
Can you tell me why we should believe Migration Watch figures, which we do not know who funds this organisation?
Migration Watch base all
My
their
question
figures
is,
on
it
the
is
lower
not an
estimates of
independent
government's own
organisation.
figures.
It is
So you
not an
can't go with
independent
that.
organisation, and actually you should feel a good deal of shame belonging to an organisation where you are insulting your own history, actually. And it's not good enough, really.
Yasmin, you can't believe government figures either.
Yes, but migration figures are not.
So what are we to do?
Okay, so we can't
absolutely have to do better at collecting
I hear
figures.
what you say about
I agree.
migration, but
cards. That's what we should do. We should have had ID cards for a long time. Now, nobody else here will agree with that. But until you have proper ID cards and so on, you won't know who's in the country. And actually, you don't really care.